get this thing kicked off and started. So I am excited for obviously the opportunity to be able to do this for many different reasons. But for the most part, I got to say that the top of the reason why this is exciting for me is because this has been 3 years in the making, to be able to have the opportunity to hear real, true stories from individuals who I've been blessed to meet and have a conversation with. And the Sarah, who you'll get to meet today, is one of those that's truly close to my heart. It was the instant, simple first choice. I don't have favorites in anyone that I've ever been blessed to be able to meet and spend time with, but if I was able to pick a favorite, Sarah would be right at the top of the list. She and I spent time together for almost a year, and she truly was not just tenacious in her ability to be able to push herself forward, but I have to say, when you hear her story, you'll truly understand what it means to be a job seeker in some of the hardest times, and then be able to pull yourself not just out of that moment to find a job, but to find a job that supports your dreams, which is the ultimate goal for all of us as job seekers, right? So with no other ado, I will introduce Sarah real quick to you, and then Sarah, you can fill in the gaps where I miss. So Sarah is an absolutely phenomenal project manager by not just education, but of course by trade. She has experience not only in nationwide multi-location rollouts and hardware and software implementation, but her story is one where she transitioned those skills from the private sector into the government and is truly excelling in her current government role. So she has an amazing background from a personal side of things too. She has a wonderful significant other who is just amazing, who has a great name, by the way. And so that, right? Yeah, excellent. It might be a little biased on that one too, but truly has a support mechanism around her from friends and family that really she leaned into and tapped into, and hopefully we'll get into some of that today. And you'll truly see not just the depths of that tenacity that she has, but you'll truly see how she has been able to take what she's learned through this experience, and she's truly giving back to others and helping develop other people. So pretty spectacular. And so without further ado, I will introduce you to Sarah. And Sarah, is there anything that I missed besides just how incredible you are as a human being?
Well, you managed to use the word tenacity. So there's that. I don't know, chickens?
Oh, the homestead, yes. Oh yeah, mention a little bit the homestead. It's a big part of your dream. Tell us just a little bit about that.
So for a lot of people, their goal, when they speak with Stephen about their dreams, is career oriented. And that's perfectly normal, but for me, it's not. It's having a homestead. I'm an aspiring homesteader. I've got chickens and dogs and cats and many more that I want to have when I have more land. And the job is really just the vehicle to get there.
I think that's amazing. And so, in other words, it's a vessel, right? And I think that's the fun part about when I first met you, and I know we're going to get into questions in just a second, but when I first met you, I think and actually I know for a fact, as you shared with me before, that a lot of times I would share reflection, discovery, execution, or the dream actual scenario in general, and walked you through the idea of selfish and selflessness. And you kept giving me that look like, what does this have to do with anything, and why in the world am I ever going to implement this in my life? And so I think that's what also makes some of the story today really special. So I say that we dive right in. What do you say?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. So one of the big things that is important is talking through, and I loved how you actually wrote this about job insecurity. I love that statement. I truly feel that is a better representation of what a lot of folks feel right now, because they are currently either underemployed or, of course, doing side jobs to make ends meet. So can you tell me a little bit more about how emotionally that was, and mentally, and really what it meant to you with job insecurity?
Well, it's been a pretty long road, and to really grasp it, we have to go back to 2021. After COVID caused my 5-year position with a stable company that I loved to stagnate, I took on an exciting new opportunity But in 3 weeks in, they let me go. I was laid off, and I was also undergoing a divorce, and it was a real gut punch. I think I laid on the floor for 3 days. So after that, I quickly found a new role, but it was kind of unfulfilling. And then a year afterwards, it happened again. I got laid off and found another role pretty quickly. And again, about a year later, the company sold and I got laid off. And I was really starting to feel, I'm the common denominator. I don't know what to do. And this particular last layoff, job search stretched over a year. And I was really starting to question everything. My career choices, my future, my goals, my worthiness. And it really tested my resilience and forced me to confront both professional and personal hurdles.
Yeah, and I know that was right in that period when I was blessed to be able to meet you. So what were some of the things that you did to kind of not just survive those moments, but to move forward?
Well, I think there was a moment in about mid 2024 that I still hadn't found a role in my field. And I was starting to wonder if I ever would. I didn't have a severance package or safety net, so I had obtained my CDL, which for anybody who's not familiar is a commercial driver's license. And I was driving school buses and hauling garbage, stable work, but didn't align with my goals. And I felt really stuck. So I reached out to you. And our work together has really helped me clarify my future and regain the motivation I needed to continue my job search. And that turning point really got me back on track because I was spinning out.
Yeah, and I'll share this with everybody who's listening, is so you understand. So if you go back in this period of time when Sarah and I first met, that was really when I would say Jarrett Solutions Careers, or JSC, was really being formulated as a program, and the development of what everybody would get to see today inside of the program, and the layout of that foundation, from understanding from voice and building a strategy for yourself and having that flow into your resume rewrites, using the LinkedIn tools. Networking was a big one. I know that's a fun one we can talk about. That was probably your least favorite moment when we went through the networking piece. But really what she was doing is she was doing everything off of Google Docs, right? She was learning all of these principles without a nice flow, without necessarily calls designed just for that topic, and handouts, and the tools that you could see, or an amazing 100-person Discord community that's supporting her, right? So I got to give her a lot of credit for helping mold and shape what this truly was, based off of not just her successes, but some of her advice. So Sarah, I got to give you a lot of credit for that. And the way you navigated it was a big contributor to what everybody gets to have.
Happy to be your guinea pig.
You were a good one, I can tell you that. So let me dig deeper here, right? Because I think that's important. So let's talk about what role did, say, small wins in your mindset shift, which is so difficult, is what you shared before. What did that really look like in the formulation of your process, particularly for a job search?
Well, for me, I thrive on structure. So I didn't have any structure, so I created one. Starting with my day-to-day job that I was taking to pay the bills, I negotiated flexibility with my managers so that I could focus on interviews. That was really important to me, and I came out with that right on ahead with every manager that I worked with. I was like, hey, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here to learn something new while I search for my future. And additionally, I use tools like ChatGPT or other AI tools to tailor my resumes and prep for interviews. Like I would input the job description and say, show me some probable questions, and then I could practice. And while it was never a script, it really helped me launch. On top of that, project manager here, I tracked everything in a spreadsheet. the jobs I applied for, response status, interview dates, and that organization gave me a sense of control. And that really helped me gain a better footing so that I could celebrate small wins. And that was crucial. Every resume that was sent out, every interview scheduled, it all built momentum. And that combination of structure, support, and mindset was everything I needed.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean in here a little bit because I think back in the conversation that you and I had around the dominoes, right? And understanding that philosophy. And I want to lean in one piece here because I know that part of your fear was some anxieties that you might have had with interviewing, right? And when you mentioned that, a lot of it was the fact that you didn't necessarily see how far you were going so fast, right? And I think that is a moment that a lot of job seekers really feel is they don't take the pause, the reflection moment, if you will, to see the fact that they've knocked over so many dominoes, that they are so much further from where they started. Can you give us a little bit about that for you and what that looked like for you? And can you share a little bit more about how you managed to work through that?
Well, it's hard to really track your results if you aren't actually tracking them. If you're just at the end of the week like, what'd I do this week? I don't know. But if you write them down, track them, you can look at it at the end of the week and go, hey, I actually did do a lot of things. So I started doing that. And every time we met, you would ask me, what wins did you have this week? And I would refer to my tracker because honestly, I hated that question. I felt like I had nothing at the time. And you kept pushing. So I started really small. Just, I got up today. I put on pants. I sent out a resume. I didn't eat a pint of ice cream, and started to be more role specific, applying to a job I was really excited about. I got an interview, or I didn't completely come undone when I didn't get a job I wanted. And the more I looked for these wins, the more I saw them. And over time, the wins got bigger. Second interviews, job offers. And that mindset change and encouragement from my support network really kept me moving forward. My support network were the unsung heroes. My partner, my closest friends, they listened to me sob and work my way through despondency for a year, and I owe them so much.
Mm-hmm. And I know that we really kind of focused in on the 3 months that we worked together so far, getting to the point of the offer, right? And then of course navigating through the offer and landing that amazing role within the government. So what I'd love to say, I have to understand from you, you made the statement when we were kind of having some conversation in the past that it wasn't success for the government, it was a success for you. What do you mean by that, and what can you share with the job seekers around that concept?
Well, my dad worked for the state for over 30 years. He just retired. And a lot of my friends work for the state or university. And I never thought government work was for me. I'm very much passionate about efficiency, continuous process improvement, and those are things that you don't necessarily think of when you think of government work. You think it's slow and bureaucratic. And I just never saw myself doing that. But after working with you on the dream and reflecting on what I really wanted, which for me was remote work, stability, benefits that could align with my goals, I realized that state government could actually offer that. So I shifted my search and focused solely on government roles. And eventually I landed a fully remote project management role with the state of Wisconsin that has great benefits and fits my needs perfectly. So when I say success for me, it meant that I validated that I could pivot, that I wasn't stuck, and I could succeed in a space I hadn't considered before. And that felt really good, because I was always in the private sector, startups in particular. I loved small businesses, but I kept jumping from one to one. So it was surprising me a lot.
And I won't lie, I didn't share this with you before, but I remember when you first, I mean, I know when we did the dream session, I learned a lot about your dad and things of that nature, but I don't think I knew at that moment that you would pivot to that world. And there was a part of me that felt, I'll be straight with everybody, insecure about helping someone navigate into that space. And it was great to be able to work through and realize, and I can even say this today from meeting so many wonderful people through the current community that are excellent government individuals who have navigated in and out of both sides, that they're different, but they're similar in nature. The foundations of job seeking inside the government versus externally in the private sector and back and forth, there's enough similarity there that you can do something great if you have, I'm gonna use your word again because you hate it so much, tenacity to be able to do it. And so I tip my cap to you for that. Also, it was a great experience for us to be able to do that together, and I appreciated that time. So, but I gotta get deeper in here because I know we promised we would be on time, and you know I'm a talker, so I'm gonna keep myself moving forward here for us. But when you stepped in role, I know you talked about bureaucracy, I know you talked about that, and that was something that when we started your onboarding program, right, the actual, becoming that impact player through that 30, 60, 90 process, share some of your wins about the autonomy that you discovered, the technical confidence that you kind of built, and how did all of that unfold for you as you went through that onboarding process working inside of the new government side of things?
It was surprising. I know I used that word before, but the biggest surprise for me was how well it supports my lifestyle. The slower pace in particular, the one thing I thought would annoy the crap out of me, actually winds up being very beneficial. It allows me to focus on my homesteading, and where I expected frustration, I wound up finding relief. I could still push for efficiency, but I'm not overwhelmed. I've built the confidence, I feel trusted, and there's a calmness that I didn't expect, and it's helped me grow both professionally and personally. Previously in startups, I was all about the grind, 12 hours every day and traveling, and I was really hard working, and I loved every second of it, but I burned out, and it was really hard to come back from that burnout. I still struggle with it. So working for the government, which has a lot of structure, you really can't work outside of your role or your hours. It's helped me balance work-life better.
Yeah, and I think the cool part then I think about from you kind of finding that balance and that survive and that thrive mentality, and truly finding the joys and things that are sometimes not even the biggest of largest of things that we might think of, right? But I'm interested now that you're on the other side, right? And we're through the 30, 60, 90 portion, right? And then we move together through even another 90 days together. And of course, just so I'll announce to everybody because you won't do it, but amazing raving remarks on your 6-month review, right? Which is a huge testament to not just your ability to keep things on track, but pivoting from that private sector into the government sector, and the efficiency that you brought there is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to tip my cap to you for that, because the successes that you did have in that 6-month period of time it's worthy of note. And the fact that you set yourself up to be the right hand to your current leader is also a huge testament to just your ability, but also your ability to be able to balance your life extremely well. So with all that being said, how have you kept up your system that you built that's allowed for that personal growth, but also the professional growth?
I still track the wins and I celebrate the progress, and it's easier now. And to blend that into my personal life, I also intentionally collect tiny joys. For me, happiness is a string of tiny joys. It's not an overwhelming, I feel good about my life and where I am. It's little things, a funny noise from my dog, a silly sticker, sunshine on my face. Those moments feed my happiness bank. And so when challenges or just straight up bad things come along, I've got reserves. My bank is full and it's not going to be completely depleted. So that balance helps me stay resilient and grounded at work and at home. And basically, I build joy into my workflow, and it makes everything more sustainable.
That's so good. And I know you're an avid, you write notes. You're a big note keeper. So I know that that is something that's helpful. So I will throw this out to anyone who's listening that is a job seeker. If you are uncomfortable in journaling, writing of some sort, voice notes, something, I highly recommend you find a system for you so you can track those wins. I love the thought process of keeping some kind of tiny wins. I think that's awesome, and it's so powerful when you can string them together for yourself and look at them when you're having the bad day and pull yourself up. And you did that so many times, Sarah. I can't count the many times that we would show up on a call and you would be able to rattle things off and truly be a testament to just how great you were. I got to ask this last one though, because I think this is extremely important, because I know just where you were, and the advice that you can provide will help so many people. Is, if someone's listening right now and they are stuck, and even in their job or in a toxic environment, or even out of a job, or maybe they are trying to pivot and they feel lost, trapped, or the resumes are going into the void, what advice would you give them, and how would you tell them to reclaim their voice?
I'm not going to say just keep going, because I don't like that advice. It's vague and exhausting. Instead, and you used this phrase earlier in this conversation, pause and reflect, regain control. When I was desperate, I took jobs that didn't fit just to survive. And it didn't feel good. And I learned that intentionality matters, because for the year prior to working with you and identifying my goals, I would just spam my resume out to anybody and everybody. If it was open and I even remotely matched the requirements, they got my resume. And when I stopped and I focused specifically on what I wanted, that new habit changed, because it allowed me to take more time, tailor each resume, my interviews. It didn't feel so scattered, which Stephen's talking about my journaling and notes. It's not that eloquent. It's scattered Post-it notes with barely legible scrawled notes. Okay, don't let him put me on a pedestal. So asking myself before I would apply to a job or take an interview, does this move me closer to the life I want? That lens helped me align my job search with my values, and that's how I reclaimed control, how I reclaimed my voice.
I absolutely love that, and I know that we are tight on time, but I'm going to sneak one more in. So producer Tina won't come through and yell at me just yet. I'm going to get one more in, because I think this is really great. If you could summarize your transformation in one sentence, what changed most in you from then to now?
I think the change is positivity and confidence. But the reason for it is because I learned to see my struggles as growth. There's actually a lyric from a song called Growing Pains by Layup that it goes, all these aches will make you grow. And I came across it while going through that first job loss and divorce, and it resonated with me so deeply that I had it tattooed on my forearm. And it's a daily reminder that adversity can become fuel for strength. It sucks that we have to go through unfair and painful things like that. Some of it's just simply, it shouldn't have happened. I mean, people go through really awful, terrible things that have no beneficial outcome. But when we do, I'll be damned if I'm not going to use it as a chance to grow.
I love that so much. And I'm smiling and laughing a little bit. And there's a couple of folks that I know are listening right now that we had a call on one of our membership calls where we spent the first 10 minutes actually talking about tattoos. So that's awesome. That's so great. We were talking about all the stories of all the tattoos. And I do not have one, I'll openly admit. I'm no fun. I shared my story once about why I don't. And it was a good thing I didn't get it at that time. But no, Sarah, and I'll close this with this. You know, one, I appreciate you doing this. I know just how much this is not something you're typically comfortable with. You are such a selfless person, but you're definitely not one to come on here and really talk about just how amazing you are. And I got to tell you, you are. And I hope everybody on here realizes that too, that it takes a lot to be able to come on to any type of a conversation. And I mean, this will be posted and it's going to be around forever, right? The internet never dies. And so for the fact of you willing to do that really means a lot to me. Hopefully it means a lot to the community that's being built. And ultimately, I really hope that some folks can gather some of the wonderful things that you were able to share, if it's uplifting for them or just rebuild their system, right? So thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. If even just one person gets something positive from me talking about myself for 20 minutes, that would make it all better.
Yeah, so since Sarah, what she's saying is everybody in the community, hit her up, send her a note. She wants you to flood her with messages is what she wants you to do. Yeah. She loves the attention, trust me. That's where that tenacity comes from. She loves it. All right, so no, I appreciate it. And we will do this consistently. We have multiple success stories that we're going to get to share over the next several weeks, and they'll all be slightly a little bit different. So Sarah, I appreciate you being the first one, and it's fitting that you were the first one since you, as you called it, the guinea pig of helping to develop the program that has helped so many over the past several years, and you truly were not just instrumental in that, but you really did help articulate some of the ways for someone to be able to pivot, and you're directly linked in a lot of those calls and of course curriculum. So I appreciate you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and everybody else, we'll see you guys in